Well, good morning everybody. We're not camped in the same place as we were last night because the winds picked up quite a bit and Prudence sort of suggested that we move, and we found a reasonably sheltered spot behind an old hunting lodge. Unfortunately the hunting lodge itself was locked, so we couldn't get in, but it was literally about 10 o'clock when we decided we had to shift. So by the time we were packed up it was probably about 11, and it took about an hour to walk a kilometre because we got here at about 12, give or take a bit. So we're just obviously walking in the dark with head torch. It's 7:30 in the morning, which obviously is very early very early for me, but it was quite, I did manage to get the cricket up in this tiny space. Chris couldn't get anything up, so he used his emergency bivvy, which you can see through there. That was Chris's bivvy, and that's the steps of the building here. So the plan is we're going to pack up, and there's a track here that's going to go about due south, so we're going to head that way. It's about 6 kilometers to the edge of the forest, so hopefully we will find somewhere to camp down there this evening. And we probably won't get there too late. We'll probably get there by lunchtime, which would be quite nice. Could set up camp and have a cup of tea or something. Anyway, so there's not really much else to say here other than I think I need to start packing. Okay, well this is our sort of emergency pitch, as it were, from last night, because we were pitched right up in the open, about a kilometre up there. You can see it's pretty gusty. I probably would have stayed and prayed, you know, that it would have been okay, but it's, I don't know how fast that is, but it is blowing me back a bit, so it's knocking on the door of 25-30. You know, I know some of you out there say, oh, you've been out in 70 miles, but stand up in that. But it's certainly taking me off my feet a little, but not much. But so it's a good 25-30, and I think it was more than that up there. Like I said, I probably would have stayed, but Chris is very much safety first, and I think that's very wise, to be fair, when you're, you know, when you're out here. This isn't somewhere where you're just half an hour or an hour, you know, from the car or something like that. You know, you can't mess around out here. I did get the cricket in this space here, but I was sort of saying to Chris had an emergency bivvy bag, so Chris bivvied under there. There's this big overhang here on this building, so I actually probably would have been better off if I'd have just put a sleep mat through there, and then put the sleeping bag down, and maybe put the quilt liner over the quilt just for a little bit of extra protection, because the problem is that's the flat area and the side of the cricket is kind of taken over most of it. Because it's so rocky and stony over there, I couldn't get that peg right in the corner, so the flat area I kind of lost. So I was on a bit of a slope, and then, you know, dangling down into the material a bit, and it wasn't the most comfortable of nights. And I think because the wind is coming around here, it's kind of catching that side of the cricket there. Lassie, what are you doing? Lassie, come on. It's kind of catching that side, and then it's just making the whole thing shake. And I probably haven't got the tightest of pitches there. It's sort of half up a hill. As I say, if it wasn't windy, or wasn't so windy, it would probably, you know, it shows that it is pretty adaptable shelter. But I think it was just, you know, a little bit too breezy, so probably would have been better off with the quilt line over the sleeping bag, tucked up in that corner. But it's 20 past 8. I think I sort of nodded off maybe once. I definitely fell asleep once, because I know I woke up from a weird dream, but I don't think I was out for very long. I put the pole on a stone because the part of the pole there isn't working properly, so we need to get that sorted out. Anyway, I think we're gonna start tidying up a little bit more, and then there's a track there, and we're just going to follow that track. It's about 6 kilometers to a forest, and then we're going to hopefully camp up in the forest. Well, it's pretty blustery up here, so all of those cliffs or mountains over there, that's the Ben Arn, and we're heading up here. Hopefully once we get near, start going down the other side, maybe this wind will go. I've not measured it, but it's certainly very high 20s. It's you can't walk in a straight line with it when it gets very gusty. It's very early in the morning. Very early in the morning, 9:30. I'm normally waking up at this time, but where we stopped it was really an emergency stop. It was very uncomfortable with the wind. I must admit, I won't be sorry to get to the top, and I think it's pretty much, hopefully, downhill most of the way towards the forest. Then it's been quite a tough trip, this one. The weather's made it tricky to say the least. Alright, well, we've made it down into the forest. We've done about 9. Oh, it's wet down there. I've had dry feet the whole way, so for once, I think literally the first time since we started, my feet have been dry. Have dried out, or drier anyway, or not cold and wet. But we're in this forest. Braemar isn't a million miles away now. We're approaching civilization. And we're probably about between 5 and 8, maybe near 8 kilometers to the car. But we have decided that we are going to try and find somewhere in the forest to pitch up. That's the plan, so we will see. I half wouldn't be surprised if we end up at the car, but I hope that we can find something. Anyway, it's pretty tight. I must admit, I am pretty tired now. It's been a grueling few days. We're coming back up to the main path again. Okay. I was hoping we were going to be off it for a bit. Oh, all my legs. Comment below, has anyone camped in the Forest of Dean? Well, good evening after all that wind outside. What we have here, this is an expedition meal which I've repackaged into here because these are a little bit lighter and less bulky. So I've warmed up around about 100 ml of water. Oh, we don't need to tear it. I don't know why they make it such that we can just open it easily. Anyway, so this is beef stroganoff and rice. Put that in there. Yeah, like all expedition meals, they only need 5 minutes or so. That's expedition foods and beef stroganoff. I might add just a tiny drop of water and a tiny bit of extra flame because I did let it cool off, just, you know, not deliberately, but just while I was setting the camera and everything up. I think it's worth just giving it a I mean, it's already soaked up. Because we're in a forest here, we've had a 4-night camp, and it's been 4 nights of, well, 3 nights of miserable, windy, wet weather. So hopefully tonight is a little bit better. Although, oh, there's doing her nuzzling thing. That's why I never put her food in a bowl anymore, because I put her food in a bowl and she just nuzzles it. What the devil she's doing? It's like she's covering it up or something. And then she starts to eat some. Now, any dog behavioural experts out there know why you would nuzzle your food and then after nuzzling it then start to eat it. What a bizarre dog. Alright, so that food is probably ready now, because it really doesn't take long to hydrate. So So this is a small portion. This is the 450 calorie one. Yeah, it probably needs a bit longer. I think it probably is generally better in the package because I think it kind of keeps it together and probably keeps it a little bit warmer, but then you can just warm it up, you know, with a bit more heat anyway, so it really doesn't make any difference, you know, whatsoever. And it does mean that, like I said, you know, that packaging there is much smaller and lighter. And then what I'm doing is all my rubbish, let's go back. All the rubbish then just goes in these, and then these go into a Ziploc bag. All right, well, I'm gonna carry on eating that in a minute, and then we will catch up a little bit later, or if there's not too much to report, maybe, you know, maybe in the morning. But anyway, I will wish you happy tasty dinners. Till later. Well, good morning everybody. It's been a very, very wet night. It started raining about 6 o'clock. Lassie stayed outside the entire time, and I had that foam mat put down for her, you know, in the dry. She could have gone on it, but she just stayed outside. Didn't you? No, you stay there. You're not having a wet dog over here. You stay there. Good girl, you stay there. But she stayed outside the entire time. Her water bowl is a self-filling water bowl, because I, more accidentally than anything else, but placed it under the edge of the tap, so it filled up overnight. So I don't think she's been down to the river. I think it's just a little bit too far. I think she has her own limits as to how far she likes to go, you know, from the tent. And I think the river, whilst it is close, is probably just, you know, a little bit too far. So she did have water, you know, from the bowl, because it's gone down. So Chris is still here. He was originally thinking that he might get going early, but it was quite a long busy day yesterday, so I think he kind of chilled out a bit this morning. So we're aiming to go around about 10 o'clock this morning. You can see that it is, you know, very, very damp, but you can see that there is condensation, so we can write MLD. I don't know quite if you can see that. We can write MLD is, I don't think there's enough condensation. Amazing. I don't know if there's enough condensation to write on it. Maybe we need to write it up. MLD is amazing. My arm's not long enough. Is amazing, and it's not dripping or anything like that. So what I've taken to doing, because this Cuban fibre packer, I think it's slowly losing its waterproofness. Not much, and in fact very little, but just to be on the safe side, certainly for this trip anyway, what I've taken to do is to use a extra big stuff sack. And I kind of started doing this when I had the Hell pack, and I kind of quite liked, you know, I quite liked the principle, you know, of that. So, but it's kind of easier, I think, to stuff the stuff sack, but lightly, just with the sleeping bag, so you get it in, you know, pretty much, I think, not quite, I don't think that's quite the bottom, but we can finish squishing it in a minute. So just get the stuff sack in first. And then I use my mat as my back frame, and this is a little bit fiddly, but eminently doable with just, if you've watched All Creatures Great and Small and James Herriot, then it's probably no worse than that. And get that squished all the way. Maneuver yourself all the way down, so it's relatively level, and you just want to make sure that it comes just, I mean, there it's about 4 inches above the bottom of the thing there, so that's fine. Alright, so once you've done that, you can then start, you can deflate your pillow. As I think I showed you, there is no condensation. I mean, I'm not saying it's bone dry, it's not, but there's no condensation that's going to drip in here. It's pretty dry, really. But then I've got a gap all around the outside a little bit. Well, that night, last night my watch said I had a poor night and to rest, and it says I had a poor night last night, but I had a good night last night. Although I think, to be fair to it, it's probably saying you've had a really hectic few days, maybe you need to slow down. And then once you've got everything critical that, you know, needs to be kept dry packed, you can then roll up the dry bag inside. So I even put a few things in that don't necessarily need to be kept dry, like some packets of food and things like that, but I think better to fill that pack up, fill that big stuff sack up as much as you can, And then the stuff on the outside is really just rubbish, crackers, maybe a head torch. And on this occasion, because it's raining, I'm going to wear waterproof trousers and pack my regular trousers. So I've just got these few bits to go on the top. I've still not found the little pot that they go in there. Oh, I think I told you. They replace the stuff sack. Like, what, I can't remember what they're called now. I've forgotten. A comment below. No, but they replaced that for me because it was too small. It's more full. It's not so easy to pack. So quicker. Trash. And I can put my trousers on the top of the pack because even if it's not 100% waterproof, they're already damp anyway, and it's certainly the top part of it is like, you know, 99% waterproof. Wind shirt can go in the top. I'm going to wear my waterproof. The wind shirt got damp. I dried it last night. It's still a little bit damp. Waterproof all biscuits. I must admit I didn't eat as much as I was expecting, but having said that, we're going back today, whereas the original plan was to go back tomorrow, but because the weather's been so poor and Chris has other commitments, he's got to get back as well, so we have cut it short. By a day. If the weather had been, you know, better, we might have stayed out and done something else, but it's just been pretty poor weather. But if you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe, because we are planning on doing, you know, a few more things in the future. So watch this space. Put those in there for now. Oh my giddy aunt! Oh, he's gone. There was a little mouse thing. There he is. Can you? There, right? There he is. There, you can. There he is. Look. What's that little mousy, moly thing? There, you can see his tail. Oh. Our first little mammal. Oh, there he is, he's going outside. Well, I didn't expect a frog and a, I don't know what that is, whether it was a mouse or a mole. That was a bit of a shock. Didn't expect that. I hope he hasn't been eating anything. Don't think so. That's okay. Alright. Well, we best better get these last few bits. Well, camp was just down in those trees. I didn't show you the river last night, but it was flowing fairly sedately. But all night rain, and now it's flowing anything but sedately. And that is quite a torrent of rain through there. Well, rain, river water. So I estimate it's about 5 kilometers back to the car. We're about 2 or 3 kilometers from the car, and if you're seeing from a bit of 360 footage, it's quite flooded in places. And that little wood has got completely flooded. It's a good job we didn't camp in that wood, because that's I think even the Hillyberg would get washed away in that. And we've got more flooding just up here. So this is literally the D that we are wading through. Oh, it's a bit on the chilly side. So that is the D, has breached the banks. They're going to have to make that road a bit higher, I think.